You're listening to the Bunz.com podcast network.
Bunz, Bunz, Bunz.
Welcome to the Pixels&Ink podcast, episode 268, brought to you by CG Magazine. I'm your host, Lisa Mior, and today we have Brendan Fry.
Hello.
And Phil Brown.
Yay!
Hey, and sadly no Brendan Quinn today, but he'll be joining us next week, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so how are you guys doing?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, anything exciting going on this week?
I mean, like, the movie stuff we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's officially October,
You're
so it's
going back
Halloween
to-
month, which I'm so excited about.
Yeah, what are you going to go see?
All
of it?
For Halloween?
Yeah, like everything that's showing right now?
Oh, yeah. No, there's a bunch of, like, horror movies I'll definitely go see that I'm very excited about. Like, they're Reanimator is playing at the Royal, and they're doing a screening of Bram Stoker's Dracula,
I like that.
which
That was a fun movie.
oh yeah, which I'm so excited. I guess the costume designer will be there with some of the costumes
Yeah.
doing talk and stuff, so that's cool.
Oh, that'd be super cool.
They just announced a 3D screening of The Creature of the Black Lagoon,
Wow.
which I'm into. There's going to be a Nosferatu with a live score. There's a bunch of cool stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm into that.
Neat.
And then, like, get to wear
Stand.
costumes and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Which
we
I'm
also
excited
the
about.
standard Hollywood horror movies that are coming out.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Is there anything good coming this year?
No, I mean, it.
What
There's
about-
a new Saw movie.
Yeah, Jigsaw.
Yeah, which I am, in a guilty pleasure way, really excited
Yeah,
about that. Yeah.
I kind of want to see that how they physically can make a new
It was a
one.
tradition for 7 years. Me and my best friend
Yeah.
would go and see a Saw movie on Halloween weekend.
None of them are good. The first was okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, there are a couple that I enjoy and a guilty pleasure. I mean, they're all trashy. They all have, like, they all had, like, disgusting gore moments where I was like, I'm glad I paid to see this. But there were a couple that were better. Yeah, like, the first one has a charmed. I like the third one.
Which one was that?
That was the one where Jigsaw was dying the whole time. They had to do brain surgery on him in the
As
middle
he's,
of
like,
it.
sorting things out.
Yeah,
It's
that
weird.
scene was just unbelievable. And then there was another, like, I just enjoyed the like Rube Goldberg death traps too. Like,
Yeah.
there was a great one in that where a guy had to, like, go through a bunch of rotting pig carcasses that were in a grinder.
Yeah.
That was wild. And then I also like 6, which was like an odd, like, satire on the U.S. healthcare industry, where
Yeah.
it was a guy who had turned down a bunch of people for healthcare being forced to go through death traps where he had to make moral decisions regarding people's health that related to his family as punishment for what he'd done to to refuse everyone healthcare, including Jigsaw. So I just appreciated that they were doing, like, something that trashy while also trying to make a political statement.
I mean, I did think it was interesting the fact that they always tried to play with time a bit, because you always see continuously one set of actions with whatever the cops or whatever are doing.
Yeah.
And every single time it's like, oh no, that happened in the past, or oh no, that's tomorrow.
Oh yeah, and they'd always have a big montage where everything snapped into place at
Like,
the end.
oh, it all makes sense now. Yeah.
Totally, yeah. Now there were always good beats in it. There was just, like, there was a period there around, like, 4 and 5, like, basically after Jigsaw died, and they still continued to make movies where it was, like, a real struggle just to find a way to keep it going.
Because I don't know why they bothered killing him off.
I know. Well, I think they assumed that would be the end, but then it made more money than the previous one, so they decided to keep going.
Why didn't they just kind of make it so he kind of vanished somewhere and just kind of went away and, like, I'm going to go die off in the distance with cancer? And
They decided to stick to continuity, and they just refused to let it go. Like, it's it is like, especially considering, like, most of iconic horror franchises kind of hit a reset button after every movie. That one continued to plot for 7 movies.
And
it was a mess. It didn't make any sense, but they did commit to it.
well, didn't 4 and 5 take place at the exact same time? You just didn't realize.
That's right. That was the reveal of part of 5, was you found out it was also happening at the same time as 4, which I remember being so confusing when I watched it, because the actor they'd hired to be the main character of 4 and 5, like 2 different actors, looked so similar that it wasn't until they were in the same room together at the end that I was like, oh, those were 2 different people. I was wondering how that all happened. So yeah, there's some problems.
But they did some interesting things.
Oh yeah, and they did some fantastic gore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I do enjoy good gore.
But I mean, Jigsaw's supposed to be back now.
I
Are
guess.
they just going straight up supernatural now?
I don't know. I think
His son?
I don't know. It's very unclear.
The Doctor?
Very unclear. I think it'll be Carrie Elways.
Which one's that?
He's the guy who is from Princess Bride. He's the guy that in the original movie cut his foot
Yeah,
off.
the Doctor.
Yeah, and then in this and then the 7th movie it was revealed that he was like taking over Jigsaw's. So he was
He was so changed from the experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he had that like support group of survivors of Jigsaw
who all wore pig masks.
Totally, yeah. So presumably he's just been building up his Jigsaw cult for a while, and maybe Jigsaw left tapes behind where this was all part of his plan. That 10 years later he was supposed to make the cult.
This is super.
I know, but I can't wait.
Okay.
Yeah, but
it's gonna be great.
Oh yeah, can't wait. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. There's a new Mike Flanagan movie on Netflix this week that I'm looking forward to.
Okay.
He's the guy that did Oculus and did the decent Ouija last year. So that looking forward to just everything he's done. So he did Hush as well.
I liked Hush.
Yeah, so I really liked everything he's done. So that it's a bummer that won't be playing in theaters, but still got to see.
Is that the new one Netflix just released details about?
Could be. It's someone's name. I'm blanking on the title right now.
I think that's one I just got an email about. Like, do you want to see a preview of this thing? I'm like,
that'll be it.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that'll be it.
There's so much stuff coming to Netflix like every day now.
I know it's hard to keep track.
My email box is literally every day like 10 new Netflix. I'm not watching all this stuff. I don't even know what this stuff is.
Totally, yeah. But that one I'm genuinely looking forward to. That should be good. Yeah, that's it.
Well, why don't we take that as a good segue into some movie news? We'll get started with that since we're talking about this.
Yeah, we're all
already.
here. We're doing it.
Yeah, so what's new and exciting in the world of movies?
All right. So first up, I have. Where do I want to start with this? I got a bunch of weird stuff here. All right. Well, let's go with my favorite franchise to talk about, the Fast and Furious.
All right.
There's very sad news announced yesterday, 2 days ago now, relative to when you'll be listening to this, that Fast and Furious 9 has been pushed back from 2019 to 2020. So I'll have to wait an additional year for Fast and Furious, which is really frustrating.
Is it because of the intense action?
I can assume as much. Well, actually, today there's a little Twitter drama because Tyrese tweeted The Rock and said that it's his fault. And said, congrats for making this all about you. So my guess is
Hold on a second. Wasn't there Twitter drama earlier, two episodes or something like that?
Yeah, no, that was for the last movie. Was the Rock was criticizing Vin Diesel for not working hard enough. Yeah, and he had I think my guess would be that The Rock is the only guy who's bankable outside of the Fast and Furious series. So he's
Ludacris, maybe.
Yeah, so he's
rap music.
Oh yeah. He's got his own group, but I just mean movie-wise.
Yeah.
So The Rock has a variety of projects lined up, Fast and Furious being one of them. And my guess is it just things had to be adjusted to fit his schedule.
Yeah. And running for president as he did.
Right, of course. Well, it's 2020 as well, so there you go. That could be part of it.
Good kind of campaign.
Yeah. But anyway, Tyrese isn't pleased. I'm not pleased, but what can you do?
Would you want a Fast and Furious movie without
The Rock? No.
No,
that's the thing. If it comes down to that, that's the thing. I can understand him being like, hey, you just joined this franchise. What are you doing? But, I mean, he made it get good. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I don't want one without The Rock. So if it means I got to wait a little longer for The Rock, then that's fine by me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, it's better than the news I thought you were going to deliver. I thought you were going to say that after the 9th, they were going to be done.
Never.
Oh, no.
Heart would have been broken.
They're going to 10. They've made that clear. This was the Fast 8 was the beginning.
I'm gunning for 20.
No. Fast 8 was the beginning of the concluding trilogy.
No.
So these will all be interconnected stories that wrap everything up about Fast and Furious.
He now has a new kid.
Yeah,
Spoiler.
Totally. That's right. Anyway.
Just in case people cared at all.
Well, yeah. Well, it's about family. So, all right. Next up, I'm not thrilled about this, but I have 2 Jared Leto related stories.
That seems awful.
I know. The first is that because he's been doing some interviews promoting his role in Blade Runner 2049, which we'll discuss shortly, and he said he revealed in the interviews that he has not seen Suicide Squad. Which is intriguing because he was complaining about the fact that they cut his role down.
How would he know that?
I guess he just heard that.
Okay.
And then was like, I don't care for that. But
well, if I'm not in it, I'm not watching.
I know, right? Well, he says that he hasn't watched many of his movies. I think that he said he watched. What was it? I forget what the 2 were. I forget what one of them was. One of them was Requiem for a Dream.
Sure.
And then
he's in that, isn't he?
Yeah, main guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and watch something else. I guess it's just standard actorly response, but it screws him up to watch his performances. But
he has method after all.
Well, exactly. So anyway, if he hasn't seen Suicide Squad and more than anything else, I understand now why he's angry that they're talking about getting someone else to play the Joker. because he doesn't know. All right, and then the next thing is that Jared Leto also this week signed on to play Hugh Hefner and a Hugh Hefner biopic directed by Brett Ratner, which sounds like the worst thing that could possibly happen.
That sounds gross.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't surprise me. Brett Ratner was apparently a frequent visitor of the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah.
He also released a book about butts that he wrote. I mean,
What?
wrote's a loose term. It was photographs of butts. But, that was one of his babies.
Were they provocative butts or just generally butts?
Butts.
I have to admit, I haven't read the book. I just know this exists. I believe it was called The Butt Book.
No, men's and women's butts or just women's butts?
Knowing Brett Ratner, I find it hard to believe there are any male butts in there. I really do. But again, haven't read the book.
I want equal opportunity butts.
Can't be sure. Well, that's not what you're getting with Brett Ratner.
Oh, fair.
But it just surprises me that Brett Ratner, who has not directed a movie in years, because one of the main reasons being that he went on Howard Stern and said a bunch of stuff about how he's like the greatest at performing a certain sex act, and made a lot of really derogatory comments about women.
What?
That his next move is direct the Hugh Hefner biopic. It seems ludicrous to me.
This all sounds like
very
bad.
surprising.
Yeah, it just sounds gross and ludicrous.
Yeah.
But not super surprising for Brett Ratner. It's surprising for Jared Leto because I think he'd have better opportunities. But again, I don't know what that guy's like.
The Joker might have cut some of those away.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know.
They said, we don't want that in the movie.
The thing that bums me out is like I do think there is a really good Hugh Hefner movie to be made. Not this one.
No.
The good one would be like I just imagine the last
Fassbender?
like. No,
Fassbender.
it could be, yeah. I just imagine the last like 5 or so years of Hugh Hefner's life must have been so depressing as like the Playboy empire was crumbling and everyone thought he was just an old pervert and he's like a 90-year-old man hanging out with 20. Like, what's he got in common with the 22-year-old blonde?
To be fair,
you know what I mean?
He was kind of an old pervert.
Oh, absolutely. But that's what I mean.
Well,
It would
I
just
think
be such a sad, like,
But
how the mighty have fallen, and like everything he represented is now gross and outdated. And
Exactly.
I think
that's
that
really the whole like why the mighty fell because he hasn't really changed since.
Oh, totally.
He started the whole thing, and it would make an exciting documentary to see
For
like,
sure. I think
that anachronism that he is.
Oh, totally. And I think that would be a cool movie to make. Was that like the like Sunset Boulevard?
Yeah.
Last like years of just a sad Hugh Hefner watching silent movies with 22-year-old blondes who are paid to be there that have no interest in being there, and
whatsoever.
occasionally James Caan comes over. You know what I mean? Like it would be. I think there's something really funny and sad that would have a lot to say about his place in the sexual revolution
Although
and how that became dated.
To be fair,
but that's not the one that Brett Ratner's making.
No, he's
No,
gonna be like,
definitely
Hugh
not.
Hefner's gonna be amazing and just like walking down the street,
Oh,
everyone's
yeah.
gonna fall at his feet.
It's gonna be. I guarantee the whole thing is gonna be like, listen, people got upset when he died and said he did bad things. We just want to show you how great he was.
Yeah.
Look
which
at
is
how
not-
awesome and hot
yeah.
these women are
Mhm.
at every time.
Yeah, which is not the.
Clear up some of that bad press that came out.
Yeah.
More butts. He wants to really show off his.
Well,
knowledge
yeah,
of
and
butts.
also he wrote the butt book, so he's got
Oh,
he's got some background in the material.
Well, it has an audience somewhere.
Apparently, yeah. So that's a thing. Next up, Kate Winslet has joined the Avatar sequels. I haven't said who she's playing. So she's apparently they're shooting the movies in 2 blocks, which makes sense because I thought it was weird that they were shooting all 4 and then doing post on all 4. So I guess that's the plan.
Sure.
Is they'll do these 2 and then because the studio's committed $1 billion to this.
So what if he blows through that in the 2 movies?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I think that's probably why it's wise to do this, is that they do the 2 movies, get 1 out, see how it does, and then decide if they really want to do 2 more.
Have they guaranteed 4 movies, or are they just kind of guaranteed $1 billion?
Well, I mean, at the moment, like, it's greenlit, but, like, if Avatar 2 comes out in tanks and they've spent $500 million, I could see Fox being like, you know what, we're no longer interested.
We'll pay your cancellation.
You can feel free to pay for this yourself. So anyway, also Jenny Slate joined the Venom movie, so that's 3 actors I really like in the Venom movie without Spider-Man.
It's gonna be bad.
I don't know. I feel like these are all people who are careful when choosing their projects, but at the same time, it's a Venom movie without Spider-Man. But at the same time, it could be a Spider-Man movie because I'm really am sticking to my guns on this theory that part of this Infinity War thing is that he's going to get Spider-Man's going to get the alien symbiote and become, and then like to set up the Venom story. and they're just not saying.
It's got to be some kind of script to get this caliber of this caliber of like actors joining.
For
right?
sure, right? So that's why I'm
something.
Yeah,
something's
totally.
gonna be there.
Totally. So that's why I'm hoping that this is actually a plan for that. Like this could even be the sequel to Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah.
And that's why everyone wants to be involved because it's a project that's working.
That's kind of it's piqued my curiosity.
Yeah, I'm intrigued as well.
At least we're not going to get another Spider-Man origin story.
I know.
That I'm excited about.
Thankfully, we never have to worry about that again. Which I read an interesting thing recently where apparently, I guess, briefly before Sam Raimi got it, David Fincher was in charge of the Spider-Man movie for a little while.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and apparently one of the big things that the studio balked at was his whole concept was that he didn't want it to be an origin story.
Okay.
What he wanted to do was do the origin story in the opening credit sequence.
All right.
Like how old comic books were written, where you'd get the origin at the top of the first page and then you just dive into the middle of the story. Which is what I've always thought someone could do, because no origin story for a superhero was so complicated it couldn't be told in 4 panels. That was kind of
exactly
like part of it, right?
Yeah.
So I just thought it was really interesting that he wanted to do that then, back before anyone was really doing comic book movie stuff. And it's a shame he didn't get to, because it would have saved us having to watch a dozen comic book or superhero origin stories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, whether we like it or not, Maleficent 2 is going to happen.
Did that do well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It made a bunch of money.
Well, then.
I know, but it's horrible.
I know, but you know what? I mean, some little girls don't want to see princesses. Sometimes they want to see the bad guy.
Oh, I totally get that.
So-
But there's just no reason why they couldn't get a good movie with
I
the bad
know.
guy.
Well, no, that's never going to happen.
Well, maybe Maleficent 2 will be the one.
And especially with this whole Disney live action.
Yeah.
I
know,
just
right?
I can't get my head around it.
I know.
Yeah.
It's weird to me.
It's so bizarre.
It's weird to me. I mean, like, the best part of Maleficent was that Angelina Jolie was excellent as Maleficent.
Yeah, she really was.
So perhaps they'll come up with something good to do with it. Do you remember the movie Flight of the Navigator?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
getting remade?
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh God.
I know,
Really?
right?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Which I don't even like. I understand people are nostalgic for that, because I definitely do. Like as a kid, like all those E.T. knockoff movies, like Mac and Me or whatever. I was like, oh, this is fun. It's like E.T. but not E.T.
I think we were just talking a little bit earlier about E.T. and I had no love for E.T. This is
But
the
you
one,
liked Flight of the Navigator?
I know. This is the one kid movie
Really?
that I actually liked.
Was there a reason why?
I don't know. Maybe it was just the whole that he was the one flying the spaceship.
Yeah.
As opposed to like meeting, the alien and that sort of stuff. He was the one taking the initiative.
Gotcha.
Maybe that was it. I don't know. Or maybe I was really into spaceships.
Yeah.
So maybe the
So
spaceship
could
was
you see
just
the fact
super
that it
cool.
was spaceship related?
Yeah.
It's possible.
Could have been that.
Possible.
Yeah.
It just surprised me because it's not. Again, I haven't seen it since I was a kid. I don't remember Flight of the Navigator being particularly great.
I just remember my generation of like kids just. There was a bunch of people I knew who were really into it.
Oh yeah, it was something that definitely everyone was nostalgic about when
Yeah.
I bring it up now and everything. But I can't get anyone to really remember what happened other than the fact that it was a kid in a wheelchair with a big ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking back and I genuinely can't
Yeah,
remember
like, I
anything
remember
beyond the really cool
for
ship.
sure,
And
yeah.
the ship design was cool.
Oh yeah, and that eyeball and everything.
Yeah.
That was great. But anyway.
But anyway, Flight of the Navigator
They're making
remake.
another one, whether we
Okay.
like it or not.
It's not like a remake. It's just a.
Oh no, it's a remake.
Oh, it's a remake.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it's a remake.
All right.
And then, and then finally, I guess to wrap up this segment,
We're just having some technical
fair
stuff
enough.
happening.
And then the last thing I was going to say, because this surprised yet didn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It's a TV thing, not a movie thing, but Rick and Morty is now the highest rated comedy on television.
Seriously?
Yeah. Now that factors in streaming.
Oh, okay.
But
All
which
right.
they do
Yeah.
for ratings
Yeah.
now. But yeah, now it is amongst all TV comedies the highest rated, and the finale was the highest rating thing that's ever been on the Cartoon Network.
Yeah,
ever.
that finale. I have
Yeah.
some opinions.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say it yet because I don't know if enough people have seen it. That'll have to be for another episode.
you can tell me about it if you want.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was. I mean, like, it doesn't surprise me in that like it really did like take over the culture, particularly the last like 6 months. But I was just to hear it's the highest rated show on comedy on television.
It's not surprising.
It's
But
crazy.
do you think a lot of that also had to do with that huge break in between? People got themselves so psyched up for it that they just couldn't help.
I mean, I think it definitely had time to help build the
Yeah.
audience for sure.
I mean, it's a good show to begin with. It's a funny show.
It's always
to
been a
begin
great
with.
show, but it just surprised me that it's the highest rated. I wouldn't think that.
Yeah.
yeah, it just didn't seem like it would have that level of appeal. I mean,
well, what is it competing against
it's
right now?
It's like definitely the most like interneted show.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. But to hear is the highest rated. I don't know. Like people watch Modern Family, I guess, right?
Yeah, there's nothing right now that it's really competing against.
I guess that's true. I hadn't really thought about it, but there aren't really. Yeah, because
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, because all the NBC comedies are pretty well gone now.
Yeah, everything's pretty much done. I mean, and then Netflix has a great catalog of comedies right now, but again, it's just on Netflix. So when we're talking about something that's aired on on television and stuff like that too, and cable network TV.
Yeah.
So
I guess that makes sense. Well, anyway, I just thought that was bizarre that
cool.
happened. Yeah, it was cool
and weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, should we just take a break?
Sure.
Now
Sounds great.
Change up things a little bit. We'll hear from our sponsors at Bunz Podcast Network and Comic Bento.
Man, I wish I could get new comics every month, but I'm broke and oddly always $5 short. Lame.
Wait, $5 short, you say? Well, I've got something special for you.
What the hell was that?
It's me, the discount ghost of coupons past. Are you scared?
What the
Use the code CGMEG in all caps, all one word, to get $5 off your next Comic Bento subscription.
So wait, if I use the code CGMEG all in caps, all one word, I get $5 off my next Comic Bento?
Yes, use the code CGMEG in all caps, all one word, and get $5 off your next Comic Bento.
A whole $5, eh? Now that's scary.
Ooh.
The Pixels&Ink podcast is brought to you by Bunz, your city network. Bunz connects you to the people in your neighborhood to help you find the things you need to fuel your real life. Swap things you already have to get items you need. You can also find jobs that pay the bills, homes for rent, advice, and a place to talk about your city. Bunz is available online at bunz.com and on your phones via the Apple App Store and Google Play Store.
Thank you, Bunz Podcast Network and Comic Bento. And I'd like to welcome to the podcast Koji from Bunz Podcast Network.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hey, Koji.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, anytime. It's exciting to have you here.
And what podcasts are you personally on?
Oh, my God. Who can keep track of this? I do ISO, the Bunz Podcast, the podcast all about Bunz. I have a show called You Gotta Love It, where people suggest horrible media and we have to love. We have to find things to love about it. And I'm also a co-host on The Crystal Ballroom, where bands get their tarot cards read, not by me.
That sounds interesting. And these are all on the Bunz Podcast Network?
That's correct.
Cool.
Give a good plug there.
Yeah, check it out, podcast.bunz.com.
Awesome. So Phil's seen a movie here?
I have indeed. So yeah, the big one that I saw this week is Blade Runner 2049.
Isn't that an old movie? No, I'm just kidding.
No. There's the bit at the end.
I hear it's a masterpiece.
It's very good. Very, very good. I was given a list of things that I wasn't allowed to talk about after the screening, which is a new one. That hadn't happened to me before. Which was particularly odd to me simply because, like I understand why they want to be predictive of spoilers, but, like, Harrison Ford doesn't show up until, like, 2 hours into the movie, and he's in all the trailers, and they've been talking about him, so, like, why did they give that? But anyway.
That's super weird.
It's neither here nor there. So, I guess, yeah.
So is Decker a replicant?
I'm not allowed to discuss if anyone's a replicant. I'm not joking about that.
Are you
that was something that they said.
You know, in the IMDb page, I've got to say, in the IMDb page, there's actual, like, lines in the description on, like, the front page that say who's the replicant and who's not.
Oh, yeah, for
Okay.
sure. There's some things I'm going to ignore just because it's silly.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, no, I'm not allowed to. I mean, I will answer the question. The question is I don't know still.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty concrete in the first movie, especially after the director's cut, where, like, I thought the unicorn thing kind of made that as clear as it could be without saying it. But then this one complicates it.
Hasn't Ridley Scott come out and said that he's not even sure?
Yeah, but he's come out and said for sure he always thought Decker was a replicant, and then Harrison Ford has said no, he's definitely not. So they don't even agree. So anyway, the very basics that I can discuss are the movie takes place 35 years after the first one, and the world's worse.
Is that possible?
Yeah. So
are there just now Coke ads literally on everything?
Not quite. Well, there's a lot of Coke ads, but there's been I forget specifically what the tragic event was because it was only mentioned in text, but for whatever reason they can no longer grow crops or even like build livestock. So all food is synthetic, all animals are synthetic. Most of the humans are synthetic. Most people have moved off to off-world. People that are still living on Earth are basically, if they either can't afford to move off-world or they're replicants. So it's even harder to tell who is and who isn't. One guy who's for sure is Ryan Gosling. I'll just say that up front because they say that in the opening crawl. So I don't care if they don't want me to say that or not. But yeah, he plays a replicant, but he's also a Blade Runner. He is primarily there. Yeah, so like the Tyrell Corporation's gone. It's a new corporation's taken over, run by Jared Leto. And
so the one that Tyrell died in the first one is no longer around as a corporation.
Exactly, because the replicants got out of control, as we saw in the first Blade Runner. And then further things that no one even quite knows about because there was also something called the blackout where all digital information was wiped out. So basically most people don't know what happened at a certain point.
Well, there's an anime on Crunchyroll, Blade Runner 2022. I haven't seen it, but maybe that fills in some of the blanks.
Could very well be.
It's like 20 minutes? I think it was Madhouse that did that?
Yeah. That's right. I'd seen there were some shorts. I just didn't want to. I wanted to go in cold, so I haven't watched them yet. I should check them out now. I've heard they're pretty good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they may have gotten into that. But anyway, the point is, so Jared Leto now, the corporation running it is even more in control. Things are even more polluted. It's not overpopulation is still an issue, but it's not as dramatic because most people have left. So, and anywho, Ryan Gosling's a new Blade Runner, primarily assigned to taking out remaining old replicants from the new the first generation breed. The new breed are much more compliant, as they're frequent to say. So he finds one in the very beginning, played by Dave Bautista, and knocks him off, and that uncovers a larger mystery, which I'm not allowed to discuss. So, anyway, like first things first, as like you can tell if you've seen any of the trailers or images, like it is absolutely gorgeous. Mm-hmm. The cinematography is by Roger Deakins, who did all the Coen Brothers movies, and
how's the score?
The score's great. Hans Zimmer did it. So there's a lot of the wow, but there's also like it's cleverly remixed to include music from sampled stuff from the first movie.
Oh,
so that's a cool mix. I've heard people complain about the wow-ness of it, but to me that's what you hire Hans Zimmer for, and I'm not totally done with it yet. I enjoyed that stuff. But yeah, the music's very good, and they clearly went out of their way to try and homage the music from the first one. In fact, the whole movie's sort of like it's clearly done by people that are deeply, deeply fond of Blade Runner, and the plot, the themes, the images everything kind of has some sort of echo or mirror to Blade Runner.
Yeah, they're just like looking through the images, the stills for it.
Yeah.
For your review, which is up.
Yeah.
As of yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It looked so reminiscent of the original.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy.
Yeah. And they go out of their way just in how it's structured and everything's put together and right down to the music to just sort of keep layering things in. Like visually it's incredible. The mixture of sets and CGI is as seamless as I've ever seen. They like recreate the sort of rain-drenched cityscape, but there's also other landscapes or sort of burned out desert areas. They at one point they go to Vegas, which has been completely abandoned as this like sand swept like temple of greed of greed and all and vice. There's snow at one point, which is apparently why Denis Villeneuve initially got interested because he's Canadian, and also really loved Blade Runner. So all that stuff's incredible, but I'm actually really interested to see how it'll do because I think like Blade Runner is obviously like one of the more influential movies that's been made in the last like 50 years. It basically like created a certain aesthetic for cyberpunk and in how we think of future movies. But the movie itself, though great, is very slow and very languid and very philosophical and very difficult. And I think it's sort of like the imagery is so profound and so influential. It's kind of like eclipse. Like the level of popularity it has, I've always found odd because it's not a particularly easy or likable movie. And this is very true to the original Blade Runner. So like there is some violence and some action, but it's always very terse and very brutal and very harsh. And it is very slow and very thoughtful. And there's a lot of very complicated, very twisted things being done that that are difficult. It's not like the easiest movie to read. It's like easier than Blade Runner was, if only because like it has like story structure to it, which Blade Runner did not have.
No, but it looked good.
It did look great. So like I think like certainly I think like people that are indeed fans of Blade Runner, I think will love it. It's incredible what they've done to sort of update to update all the ideas of it, in addition to updating the effects while still staying true to the aesthetic, so it doesn't break anything. But at the same time, like it's not like a super fun time at the movies, which Blade Runner wasn't either. It's really depressing and makes you like question why you live. Right. But so this is kind of along those lines. It's also almost 3 hours.
Does it feel that?
I mean, like, it feels long. I didn't think it. I didn't know it was 3 hours until I was just about to sit down, and I was like, "Oh boy, this will be rough." It didn't bother me that much. Like there is always something happening. There's always something interesting going on, but it's just not like more than anything else. Like it very much feels like a big art film that they managed to make for $150 million, which is incredible. But like I'm curious to see how it'll play, because Mad Max was one thing where Mad Max was, reviving an old property and had a lot of like intellectual things going on, but it was also a 2-hour long chase sequence. So you didn't like, if you got all that stuff, great. You didn't have to. This one, like aside from like the beautifully constructed world building, it's not Star Wars. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's tough and it's not fun sometimes.
Right.
But do you think anyone's going to see this movie with the expectations that it's not any of those things that you listed? I mean, anyone who knows the original movie is going to probably think like, yeah, this is going to be depressing and it's going to be dark and interesting.
Sure. I mean, like that's what I'm curious to see. Like I do think like people that actually know Blade Runner and appreciate Blade Runner are going for it for that reason, for sure.
Right.
But Blade Runner's become such a pop culture staple. I think a lot of people think they've seen Blade Runner but haven't.
Right. They just they know it like through osmosis or something.
Totally. Yeah. Or well, just seen scenes of it, or the parodies, or consumed it through YouTube clips, or however many ways you could do it.
CinemaSins, just watch the CinemaSins of it.
Yeah, totally. Like there's so many ways to have consumed or appreciate Blade Runner without having seen it. So I'm curious about that. Like I hope you're right.
Yeah,
because I would love to see it do well, but I don't know. And also,
and then it's that other generation who's never had a chance to actually see it.
Well, totally
heard about it, and then they're expecting like these action movie hits that it looks like visually it looks like it totally could be that kind of movie if you have no idea what it's about, right?
For sure. And I know a ton of people that went to see Mad Max hadn't seen any of the Mad Max movies before. Right. You know what I mean? I think it'll be similar.
But the preview doesn't paint it as like a over-the-top action flick or a Star Wars. I don't think. It's just the preview is a bunch of people sitting around talking, looking like ominous and sad.
Yeah,
I suppose that's true. I guess it's just by virtue of the fact that you're getting hints that it is like a big special effects blockbuster. Right. It's just I don't know. I can't think of the last time a like huge mass release 2.5 hour long sad movie about existential dilemmas was released. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hope it does well. I mean, we're certainly in a time where people are questioning things,
right.
So that could help. You know, I think it fits a certain tenor. But it's just always been an interesting thing with Blade Runner, where I feel like I often see it like described as an action movie.
Right.
And I was like, have you seen it? Like there are those 2 bits where he shoots a gun.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Walking around looking gloomy.
Yeah, totally. So
a lot of rain. I remember a lot of rain. Him ordering a lot of weird food.
Oh, for sure. And that's all here again. So I'm intrigued to see how it'll do.
Right.
I hope it does well. I think if you know what you're getting yourself into, you'll appreciate it.
Anyone who's listening to this at this point probably knows what they're going to do.
Most certainly, yeah. And also, I'm also intrigued to hear how the response to the depiction of women is. Is
it bad?
No, I think it's deliberate. Like in the first movie, I described like Daryl Hannah plays a pleasure unit, and Sean Young plays a basically a living secretary.
Yeah,
that's a deliberate commentary on like this patriarchal future. Mm-hmm. This one sort of expands on that and actually has more female characters, but it is very much a commentary again. And I've read so many reactionary articles that just take something literally and don't appreciate that it's trying to be self-critical.
Do you think it's just clickbait though? Like, are they actually taking it literally, or they're just like this will get people's attention?
Well, that like, too, of course.
Who's writing it?
Oh, for sure, that too as well. But I'm just curious to see what that reaction's like, because I think there's going to be some going on.
Right.
that. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. If you want to really be really bummed out and be like, "Ooh, that looks pretty," then this is great. It's a great way to do it. Harrison Ford is actually excellent in it, which surprised me because he's been phoning it in a lot lately, aside from Force Awakens.
Well,
so
he's stoned a lot. What do you expect?
Well, true, but and actually had stuff to do, which goes a long way. And God, everyone's good. It's just also like. Like the first one, everyone's playing very dry, very disconnected, unhappy people. So, like, there's not a lot of big acting.
Does this set up a new series of films, or is this a standalone movie that connects with the first movie?
Plays a standalone, also still ambiguous. However, there's one scene where I saw it and I was like, they're hoping they might make money. But not in as much, but it doesn't like end on a cliffhanger.
It doesn't say, where'd Harrison Ford go? Let's go look for him.
For sure. And there's no like end credit scene where
Davy Jones took him.
There's no end credit scene where Chewie shows up or whatever. But there is one little there's one scene / like minor plot thread where I'm like, they're hoping, and we'll see. And actually, I'm not against it. I think it would be a good idea for a follow up. But I hope, I think it will stand alone. I hope it will. We'll see.
And does it connect really well with the first movie? Like, do they feel like together they make a complete unit?
100%. In fact, I went home and watched the first one after because I was like. Because it just like almost every moment ties into it in some way.
Really?
Yeah, and so I really wanted to. So they really play off each other well and really.
Yeah, I heard they recreate a lot of scenes from the first one too, sort of like.
Totally, yeah. Not in like a remake or a flashback way. Just no like.
They frame it the same way and.
Totally, yeah. Or like similar ideas being explored in different contexts.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, and it plays really well with the first one. You can tell these people really cared.
That's awesome.
Which is just nice because so many of these, like particularly when a sequel comes out this far later, you hope. And also, I'm really thrilled Denis Villeneuve did it because he's an extraordinary filmmaker, has been rising, and just also seeing when they let Ridley be in control of the Alien franchise again, that wasn't super great. So I'm glad that he wasn't in charge of this one again. And it was fantastic.
To be fair, it took Ridley 5 tries to get them. 3 tries. It took him a few tries to finish that movie, the original Blade Runner.
Oh, Blade Runner. Yeah. I think there's like 6 cuts.
Yeah,
that exist.
It's a silly amount of cuts.
Yeah. So I can understand maybe he didn't want to do it again for that reason. But it really worked out well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I saw this week worth discussing. What else did I even see? Oh, I saw one today called Loving Vincent. That was Vincent Van Gogh, a fairly mediocre Vincent Van Gogh bio movie.
Right.
But what made it interesting was that every frame in the movie was hand painted on oil on canvas to look like a Vincent Van Gogh painting. It took them like almost 10 years. Yeah. And so like visually it's amazing. It's just a shame that it's such a dull telling of Van Gogh's life. That kind of bummed me out.
So how does it work? Do they just like each scene is painted as if it's like an animated movie, or how's it work?
Yeah, they filmed it live action. They basically did like Waking Life.
Okay.
Except they printed all the frames up and hand painted.
So like
them on canvas.
Kind of rotoscopy, but not.
It's rotoscopy, and then also it's deliberately designed so like every single painting he ever did is in some way woven in at some point. So like visually is incredible. It just made me wish that either I was watching just like abstract short movie that recreate all the paintings, or like a new story done with it.
How long
just
was
seeing
it?
the same thing. I mean, it's not that long. It's like 85 minutes or something.
Okay.
It feels a lot longer.
That's not great.
Yeah, no, it's not great.
I'm gonna save that one for July 2018.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, like I said, like visually it's incredible. So there's that. And then well, whatever. If I can't think of it, it can't have been good, right?
You haven't been playing anything? You haven't been playing anything?
No, not really. Mario Kart. I'm really good at it.
Using the Switch?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've been doing a lot of that.
You have been playing the new Mario, whatever that's called?
It's not out yet.
Oh, it's not?
I want to be playing it. Trust me. Don't get me wrong.
I'm sure you will be playing it at some point.
I've seen it all over the internet, so I just assumed it was out.
No, it's just a blitzkrieg marketing tactic right now. Yeah. Well, there's that Mario Rabbids, which I haven't played, but I don't. It's like an XCOM thing, right?
It's like an XCOM.
Yeah.
That's not
supposed to be really great.
It's supposed to be great. It's just I don't like. I'm not hugely fond of games where you have to go collect hit points.
Yeah.
Just as a general rule.
It's like
just period.
Yeah, as a general rule.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not that I consider them bad. Like, I used to be very into RPGs and that sort of thing. It's just so much of a time suck.
Yeah.
That if I sit down to play a game, I don't want to like do work, so I can then, you know what
play
I mean?
more game.
Yeah, totally.
Do you not like board games?
I like board games
Because I feel like XCOM and those types of strategy games are board game-esque. No.
And what kind of board game?
Well, you're like planning it out, and anyway, it doesn't matter.
Okay, we can totally have this discussion.
Oh, I don't know. Just any sort of like, in-depth board game. Let's just say even Settlers or something. You're planning out your turn, how to best manage your resources.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. But at the same time, like those board games are done within like a couple hours.
Yeah.
It's the 25 hours of like.
Yeah, so you're not a Risk fan, basically.
No, not a lot. No.
You like your game to kind of be a quick jump in, jump out type experience.
Yeah, mostly. I mean, it's not that I don't like that stuff. It's just that I like having a life outside of that stuff.
I get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I just get too into it. Yeah,
That's fair.
yeah. There was just a certain point where it was like, I can either continue playing RPGs, or I can like make friends and have a career.
But will you play the remake of Final Fantasy VII?
Maybe. Undecided.
Are you kidding me? Well, you can't date Barrett in this one, from what I understand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they took that out.
Then I'm out.
What?
Yeah, they took out the whole Barrett dating segment of it.
I just wonder how much the Save Eras DLC will cost me.
It'll come as a mobile title, and then it'll come as an additional DLC for the Switch.
So you're bowing out right now, Phil?
I guess so.
We'll miss you.
I know. I got to run. Heart sign to you too.
And you're gonna go see the Del Toro exhibit,
yeah, I'm going
right?
back. Yeah.
So you like that, right?
I did. I loved it.
Apparently.
Yeah, I didn't talk about that last night.
No.
No,
yeah,
you didn't.
That's right.
Do you have like 2 minutes to talk about it?
Yeah, totally. It's incredible.
Apparently Del Toro liked your write-up because he tweeted it.
Yeah, I saw he retweeted it. That was so nice.
You didn't tweet it.
No, he didn't retweet it.
He tweeted it.
Oh, he tweeted it. He found it.
Yes.
Oh, bizarre.
He found it, then tweeted it out on his main account.
Good for him. That's great. I really liked it. Where to start? So I guess like I may as well start with it. So like he has this thing called Bleak House that he's been building for years.
Yeah.
It's this like side house to his own house, basically houses a collection of his like books and artifacts and monster imagery that inspires him that he goes to work in, to the extent where like one of the rooms and so this exhibit is sort of it's a lot of items from that room sort of redesigned as an art exhibit. That space, but it was one of the rooms is actually recreated from Bleak House, which is, I guess he really likes writing in the rain. So, but obviously like you can't like depend on it raining, having a stormy night to write. So he actually has one room in Bleak House that has these like windows that are electronic screens that look like it's a stormy night, and an old Victorian couch with a statue of Edgar Allan Poe that he sits on, and that's where he writes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Which is great. Done like an old like library and everything. So that's part of it. So it's all these different sessions divided into different areas. So it can be everything from like there's a section on insects to like a section on outsiders and a section on comic books, and then the last room is all on Frankenstein. So the way it's all curated is very interesting in that way, but mostly I was just excited to see everything. So like obviously his movies are well represented. So there's like when you enter, there's a giant life-size statue of the Pale Man from Pan's Labyrinth with his hand out for you to take a photo, and there's this cool statue of the ghost from the Devil's Backbone, but that's in a like darkened window, so that you can see the skeleton reflected behind him and a little like bubbly thing replicating the blood coming out of his head.
That's really neat.
Which was really cool. And yeah, some stuff from Hellboy and that sort of thing. And then from his collection, there's life-size Elephant Man. There's some of the Freaks from Todd Browning's Freaks in live action. There's one corner that's just floor to like 20 foot floor to ceiling comic books just wrapped all the way around it with original art that he's collected from like Bill Wrightson and Robert Crumb and a few of those
really
people.
Cool.
It's super cool. And then there's an original Geiger painting there. And some production art from Alien, the mask from the Phantom of the Paradise, Boris Karloff's death mask from his corpse. It's just the weirdest, coolest collection of things. And then he has all these sort of written explanations for what they mean to him that are always very thoughtful and intriguing, and also like an audio tour if you just want to hear him. And yeah, just as like someone who's really into monsters and this morbid stuff, it was really exciting to see all these things, and also just the way it's been curated so thoughtfully. And how it ties into his work and monsters versus humanity in general. It's really, really great. And I loved it. And I can't wait to go back. I'm going back tonight.
The AGO?
Yeah. So the AGO, I think until, I want to say January 7th.
It's a little while. People have a bit of time to
it's there for a while. So yeah, it's not, like, obviously Halloween month is a great time to go hang out with Frankenstein and so forth. But yeah, it's out for a while. I recommend going down. I'm just going tonight. Tonight's their, like, they have like a party.
Oh, neat.
On the first Thursday of every month. So
that's neat.
Gonna go drink with Frankenstein.
Well, you go have fun.
Sounds
gonna be great. Yeah, I'm excited.
Nice.
Well, thanks for that, Phil. And
sounds good.
We can use this as an opportunity to take a break.
Sounds good.
Shaq, do you have a need for comics and graphic novels?
I do have a fixin'.
Well, what you need to do is go to comicbento.com and use the promo code CGMAG in all caps, and you can get $5 off a Comic Bento subscription. It goes right to your door.
Yes, $5. Dude, $5?
$5.
Hey
guys,
can I get in on this action?
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
you can.
Whoa! You know what you have to do? Go
What
to
do I do?
comicbento.com and use the promo code CGMAG in all caps and get $5 off your Comic Bento subscription.
$5 whole dollars?
$5 whole dollars.
Whoa!
Comic Bento.
Get it now.
And we're back. Thank you very much to our sponsors. Now, we're going to change things up a little bit. Brendan's got a little bit of a review of the new SNES Mini.
SNES. Super Nintendo Entertainment System
Classic
Edition.
You've been calling it the Mini all day
Because
in the
it's
office. It's stuck in my head.
Because the Mini SNES, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. But anyway, you got your hands on that. And what do you think?
So, if you've ever played an SNES before, this is kind of the ideal way to play it if you don't already own one. Because it gives you the ability to easily connect it to modern TVs. It gives you 21 pretty iconic titles on the system. The controllers it comes with 2 in this box compared to the one that the NES Classic Edition came with. So if you're wanting to play multiplayer, this is all you're going to need. You buy this box and you have 2 controllers, a little console, HDMI cable, a power plug, and you're ready to go.
Is the cable length longer than...
Yes. The cable length on the controllers is a little bit longer than the previous one.
Okay.
So for most living rooms in Toronto, it should stretch to a couch.
Yeah. Well, I know that there's some third-party vendors who also make wireless controllers for
I think
it,
8-Bit do as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could go that route as well. The controllers, I believe, are the same connector that that the NES Classic used, that same like proprietary Nintendo type connector.
Right.
So it will work on anything that connects to that. So I think it would work on the Wii U as the kind of a pro controller type situation.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a nice little system. They still are, because the way they make it so similar to the original Nintendo. There's no like reset button on the controller, so you're going to have to get off your couch. You're going to have to walk over. You're going to have to hit the reset button to get back to that main menu.
Were they just doing that to just try to keep it as authentic as possible?
I think so, because it wouldn't be very hard for them to add a button on there that just does reset. Like
Isn't there must be like a button combo or something that you can press?
There's
like
not that I found.
A, B
I've
or
looked.
something like that?
I have looked.
Okay.
I've tried, so I was like, okay, there has to be a solution. Just kept pushing every button in combination.
Right.
But to be fair, when you're starting out these classic games, you push every button to skip scenes, so you might be accidentally restarting if they did that.
Right.
I really did like the way that there's 3 different picture modes. I went with the standard pixel mode, but there's also Pixel Perfect, which makes it a little bit crisper, a little bit more accurate to whatever the sprites would be.
Right.
Which is not what the original game would look like, but you make it look better than the original game because it just kind of shrinks it down a little bit so it looks a little stretched.
So how well does it scale up then?
It scales up pretty well because pixel graphics scale pretty well.
Yeah. What were you playing on? Like a 4K TV or a...
I was playing on a 4K TV and I played on just a standard 1080p TV.
Okay.
It only outputs 720p signal.
Oh, okay. So there's no point.
4K TV, you're not getting anything better.
Is it 4x3?
It's 4x3 with like borders.
Right.
So it doesn't stretch it. Doesn't make it look weird.
Yeah.
There's also a mode that gives you scan lines if you really want that authentic look on a 4K TV that's thinner than anything that existed in the 90s.
Right.
But it really is authentic. The games sound as close as you're going to get to the real games.
Yeah.
they look as close as you're going to get to the real games, and the movement and speed is as close as you're going to get to the real games. It is, of course, as everyone kind of points out on the internet, just basically an emulated system on a chip. So, yes, if you have a Raspberry Pi, yes, you're probably getting almost the exact same experience.
Right.
So, for everyone out there that's saying, well, you should have just bought a Raspberry Pi and just done that. Like, yeah, you could do that. It wouldn't have been quite as cool.
No, I mean, also, and I think the question on everyone's mind is Star Fox 2. How is it?
I don't love it, but I can see people that love Star Fox will love it. I never loved Star Fox.
Okay, that would be my next question. You didn't love Star Fox, so okay. So, but it's like similar, I guess.
So it's kind of like a mix between Star Fox and Star Fox 64, where you have that open world area,
right? And
you can kind of do anything in there any way you want. But the missions kind of look like it feels like an open world area with the gameplay. When you actually get into the missions, they look very similar to the original Star Fox.
Because I imagine that's like one of the main selling points, right? Is that this game's only available here.
Legally here, yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure in a few months Nintendo will put it on its virtual console or whatever it happens to do.
Yeah.
But as of right now, the only way you're going to get to play Star Fox 2 is if you own an SNES Classic Edition.
Right.
And you were saying that Star Fox 2 is actually hidden behind a wall?
You have to be able to beat the first
area
one,
right?
not the entire first game, just the first area of the first game.
Oh, okay.
To kind of give you an idea what Star Fox is, and once you do that, it unlocks in the system. You can just
is it unlocked permanently then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you don't have to just keep going.
Yeah, you don't have to keep going. Well, I want to play Star Fox 2 again. Guess I'm going to do that first mission of Star Fox 1.
I thought, the way it was explained to me, I thought you had to beat the first game, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Because that's like punishing almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that like only the diehard Star Fox fans would be able to access the.
But no, it's the first. It's the first chapter of the first game.
Yeah.
Which takes you like 20 minutes, so
right.
it isn't that hard to get to it.
Yeah.
It's just I guess they want to kind of so you can see how it's different. So you don't think, oh, it's just the same Star Fox game. You remember, so you play the first one, then you see enough of it to know that's how that game plays. Then you gotta jump into this one and see how this one plays.
Yeah, but at least you have to earn it. I kind of like that because there's not a lot of that anymore. It's all just like, hey, pay us an extra $2 and then you can have this thing.
No, you have to earn it. There's no way you can kind of just give Nintendo, well, here's my credit card. Now give me access. There's no internet on the system whatsoever. It is what you get. What you see is what you get. Has a power adapter, an HDMI cable in the system itself. You play it and you're good to go. So it's kind of nice to have a system that just you turn it on and it works.
Right.
But if you ever played one of those like Walmart all-in-one Atari games or Atari all-in-one Sega games, it's kind of just that.
Right.
It really, it's a better version of that.
Yeah.
But it is just that.
Arguably less titles.
Yeah, it's not 501 systems. It's 21 games.
Right.
That being said, the 21 games you're getting are good games. You're getting Super Castlevania. You're getting Final Fantasy.
Is Super Metroid on there?
Metroid is definitely on there.
Oh my god, yeah, it's the best one.
Donkey Kong Country, you're getting Super Mario RPG, you're getting Super Mario World, you're getting Yoshi's Island.
I imagine Zelda, obviously.
Zelda, of course, Link to the Past. So you're getting a good set of games. Secret of Mana. Can't forget Secret of Mana.
Yeah, I know.
Mario Kart?
Mario Kart's on there too.
What about Chrono Trigger?
No.
Oh my god, that's heartbreaking.
I know, and no Super Mario All-Stars either.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger is like my favorite game of all time.
Because that'll be the Square Enix HD remaster announced at next E3.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I hope
that's
so.
That's gotta happen. That's totally why.
I mean, to be fair, I'm surprised that one wasn't included because that's every person that reviewed this game, even me, I'm like, why was it? I mean, I didn't love Chrono Trigger, but it's a game you kind of expect on a classic game. That's the game everyone talks about that game.
Every developer that talks about every RPG developer goes back to I countless developers I've interviewed have been like Chrono Trigger was an inspiration. Chrono Trigger was an inspiration.
Yeah,
but there's got to be a reason for it. I mean,
can you not?
There's no there's no SD cards or anything like that you can put in.
I mean, to be fair, hackers have already found a way. If you happen to own the game legally, let's preface that. You have a ROM of that game, hackers have found a way to drop that ROM onto the system and it will play it.
But then at that point you might as well just do the Raspberry Pi.
At that
point you're basically just go down the hacker route, just go straight there.
Yeah.
This is really kind of, if you want to, this is for the family that says, I want to buy a thing, my family's going to come over and I want to just be able to play 21 awesome games.
It's a good gift too.
Yeah, it's a great gift if you can find them.
Well, I hear it's supposed to be a lot easier to find than...
As of right now, no store has any.
But
they'll be restocked before
Yeah,
Christmas.
Yeah,
say that-
Nintendo has
yeah.
said that they're committed to making sure that this one's at least like I know stores have saying have mentioned that they're going to have more stock in before the
Oh
holidays.
yeah, I think
right?
end mid-October they're supposed to be getting more stock in.
Yeah.
So before people are rushing down to the kind of out to buy all the gifts, there should be something out for them.
So what is your favorite Super Nintendo game that's not on there?
Oh, well, Chrono Trigger is definitely one of them. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't love the game, but I loved how it looked. I loved the way you kind of had this deep gameplay that at that time was kind of unheard of, other than a few other Square titles.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, just the Square
Yeah.
titles.
Um,
Okay. Anyway, go on.
Is Mana a Square title?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're making a new one of those, aren't they?
they're
remaking it,
remastering
yeah.
Secret of Mana.
That's right.
Yeah, so
That's
it's they've got like a 3D model in, and
Oh my god,
they were
I'm
just
excited.
showing. Sorry.
I'm excited.
Oh yeah, no, it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Like, they were just showing at the Tokyo Game Show all the footage from some of the remasters, and you can see a bunch of it on Steam as well.
Yeah.
It looks so good.
And the map, the in-game map, is the actual original game,
yeah.
which is like amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, it's gonna be great.
wait, what's your favorite other? So you mentioned Chrono Trigger.
That's a classic. Beyond that, honestly, I liked the Castlevania games. I like the Metroid. I like the kind of the Metroidvania type things.
Oh,
and they're both there. So
yeah.
I'm just like,
For me, it's probably Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
oh yeah,
The ultimate, I don't know, couch co-op.
that's such a weird game.
Oh,
Such
it's
a
so
weird
bizarre.
game.
But I loved it. I loved it as a kid. It was like one of my
Maybe
favorites.
Turtles in Time,
Yeah, or any of those. Any of
Yeah.
those Turtles beat 'em up games.
or
I think.
was it the X-Men games at that time? Probably were good too.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of Super Nintendo games that.
The Batman games are fun too. Like there's a lot of the beat 'em ups, like side platformers that a lot of licensed titles were actually good out of Super Nintendo.
But do you feel like this scratched your retro itch? There's hesitancy.
Yeah, I mean-
already.
Because there's so many retro games that I used to love, it's hard to say it stretched them all.
Right.
But if I was just saying I just want to kind of jump back on the NES or the SNES, and
Yeah.
I just want to find a way to make it work on my modern TV, this is probably the way to go.
Right.
It's kind of hard to get a SNES working on a modern TV nowadays,
Yeah.
especially 4K. It looks awful.
Right. Yeah, you have to either do things illegally, as you were speaking earlier, or get an old CRT.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could get like a weird like up converter, and but you're spending hundreds of dollars to get the system from the early '90s working on your TV, and that
Right.
seems
Yeah, it's a lot of effort to try to
Yeah.
get like just an HDMI adapter to work, and it can happen, but
Right.
it's a lot of work and it's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
I know.
So, what system would you guys like to see, minied or classicked?
I mean,
Like, is Super Nintendo your system, or is it
No,
Genesis?
Oh, Genesis. They gotta do a Genesis.
they did one. It wasn't very good.
No, they gotta do a good one then.
Oh yeah, I would see a Genesis or they did the Neo Geo Gold,
Yeah,
But I'd
that
actually
was
like to
mine. I already had mine.
but
It
I'd
was
actually
great.
like to see a perfect recreation of the Neo Geo,
Right.
kind of using similar hardware and actually make it so you could work on HDMI properly. It didn't have slowdown, actually proper emulation.
For what game though, other than Metal
King-
Slug?
All the King of Fighters games in the world, like you get.
Oh, you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
I was never good at any
Mark
of
of
those.
the Wolf.
So. Yeah, no, I'm the only Neo Geo game I ever played was Metal Slug because I was never good at fighters, and like that was there.
Right.
Guys, bust a move. All of them.
But didn't that come out for like Super Nintendo?
It came out for everything.
Came out
Literally
for everything. Like literally
There's,
everything.
there's zero
But-
reason to play out of the Neo Geo.
Originally, it was a Neo Geo title. I want the original like cartridges. Have you seen the original Neo Geo home console with
Yeah.
the giant cartridges?
I have one.
Oh my
Do
god!
you really?
Yeah.
Well, let's jump into what retro games do you personally play on?
Well, do I personally play on? These days, it's all on my computer
Okay.
because I legally own them, right? But I play a lot of Super Nintendo, a lot of like retro arcade games.
Oh,
like
really? Okay.
X-Men Arcade and those beat 'em ups that it's just kind of fun now as an adult. You would spend whatever $3 in quarters,
Yeah.
be like, I'm not getting anywhere. But now you have infinite quarters, right?
Yeah.
So it's fun to just kind of run through those. But I don't know, classic RPGs. Metroid is one that I just came back from Japan, and the entire plane ride back, I just played Super Metroid
Now,
from start to finish.
You were in Japan. Did you do any retro game shopping?
I didn't. Well, I was at retro game shops, but like, you know,
it's expensive now.
I don't have it. No, it's not.
Really?
It's like ridiculously cheap, but I don't have a Super Famicom, so you know, it's not going to help me with my Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
But you can get, like, as an example, a packaged version in like a perfect jewel case copy of Final Fantasy VII for $40.
Not bad.
They had like a unpackaged, uncased what would be Final Fantasy III here for $35.
Really?
Yeah. So they're retro games. They're priced
aggressively.
What it should be priced as opposed to what the market will bear.
Okay, fair enough.
But there's also a lot more of them there.
Yeah, it was a very saturated market.
Yeah.
There is also Final Fantasy, what we call 3 on the mini.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, has that one as well.
So they do have some Square games.
Yeah, they have Secret of Mana and Final Fantasy. So if you love that sort of thing, you'll get at least 20, 30 hours of that stuff at least.
Yeah. I mean, I could go on. Final Fantasy Tactics was a big one for me, too. But yeah, I don't know, anything. I'll play anything, really. I mean, I still play The Witcher. I'll play Skyrim from time to time. So my gaming habits are all over the place.
So why do you have a Neo Geo?
For a while, I decided that I wanted to collect retro systems.
Okay.
But this was years before it became way too expensive to collect a retro system.
So you actually were able to do it.
Yeah, because at the time that I was collecting them, people were selling them at garage sales.
Oh, nice.
Right? And so, like, nobody wanted these things. It's kind of like an Xbox 360 now.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can get the game super cheap. Yeah. Like, no one really cares about it. But, yeah, then I decided it's too expensive. So I'll just...
You got a point when it caught up with the pricing.
Yeah, I'll just emulate everything instead. Yeah. But I could play video games all day.
Oh, nice. Then you're on the right podcast.
I think so. I heard you guys went to E3, and that's always been like a fantasy of mine.
We were at E3 and we were at Gamescom. So
no way.
Yeah,
crazy.
Gamescom was in August. E3 was in June.
So what are you most excited about? We talked about the past now.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about for the future?
Oh, that's hard. I mean, we have Shadow of War coming out next week, which I love the first Shadow of Mordor game, so I'm really excited to try that.
Just all that stuff happening in the background.
Oh, yeah. It looks crazy. Then you have the South Park game.
Oh, it's finally coming out.
Yeah, it's finally coming out soon.
Okay.
Then you have the new Mario game.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to have to play that.
I don't have a Switch, unfortunately.
Well, stores are starting to stock them now, so you might be able to get one.
Yeah, but then I would have to actually buy one and play it.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't blame you there. Beyond that, what else is coming? I'm really excited to kind of give my hands on to the Xbox One X.
Why?
I have a 4K TV, and I kind of want to see how they were able to actually kind of utilize that 4K content.
Right.
I'm personally not a big fan of, it has to look better all the time. But
right. Have they released any details about, like, how... the new games are going to stack up against the regular Xbox with the...
Well, what they're going to do is basically if you have a 1080p TV and you have the Xbox One X, they're going to, like, super sample. So it's going to look really rich, really vibrant colors, a lot more detailed texturing. And if you have the 4K TV, it's going to just fill the screen up properly. So it's not going to look janky. It's not going to look pixelated. So it's just going to basically look like a better image of your game.
Right.
But... it's supposed to not really make gameplay different. So if you only have an Xbox One and you don't have an Xbox One X, you're still going to be the games are going to play the same. It just won't look quite as nice.
Right.
So I'm kind of curious to see what they do in that front. Like, is it going to be worth your investment of like a $500 Canadian system?
The only reason I want an Xbox is to play Cuphead.
It's totally
oh my god,
worth playing.
Have you played it all yet?
So I went to a few events where they were showing an unfinished version of it for a while, and I got to play some of that, and I'm thinking about purchasing it for Steam because
it's on Steam, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have an Xbox, but it looks crazy, man.
It's awesome.
It's really great. I don't know when the last time you played it, but we were just playing a bunch of it for a review and the video that we have out right now. But it's super crisp, it's super clean. They compromised on absolutely nothing. So the finished product is exactly what they wanted from the get-go. I mean,
it took them forever to put it out, so I'm glad it turned out all right.
Oh, it was great. They're just like I talked to Maya, who is the art director and producer on Cuphead, and she was just so thrilled with the product that they produced because it was exact. You know how there's a lot of developers will have to make some time crunch compromise. You're going to have to cut some things out.
Right.
They were perfectly right in line with what they wanted to get done, and it shows. It's a great game. It's hard. It's unforgiving, but it's great in that respect. Like, it's not especially since you're really into Metroid and things like that. Like, you're going to be fine with it.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be the easiest thing you're going to pick up. It has changed. They changed the difficulty since the showings that they've been doing. There's a few extra things that weren't included in the last few demos that were in Toronto.
Right.
Like you get different power-ups and things like that happen
nice.
now.
Okay.
And they've changed. They do have the regular difficulty level, but they also do have an easier difficulty level. So
and they kind of fleshed out, I guess, the whole. Because when I played it, there was a couple scattered levels and a few just bosses. Yeah. But I imagine that it's like more
so
than
it is still very boss heavy. I mean, you got to understand it. It's all hand drawn.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be really hard to like do huge, in-depth levels.
Yeah.
But like the bosses all look super cool and their evolutions look even better. So it's worth it.
Right. So they took their time and developed it properly.
Yeah.
Are you listening, Ubisoft? Are you listening? I'm not associated with this magazine, so I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah. But no, it was really it was cool that Xbox ID at Xbox was able to give them that have to they got the time to do it. Like they said they didn't feel rushed or like they were able to do what they wanted to do, and that was great.
That's exactly how game development should be. Actually take the time to finish a game.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, release it perfect on day one. Would be great.
Should we wrap up there?
Actually, I wanted to see what are you most excited about that's coming up?
Oh, man. To be honest with you, I don't even, other than the Final Fantasy VII remake, because that's literally one of my favorite games of all time.
I gotta tell you this, at E3, I did something totally unprofessional when they did it. Like, it was my first E3 there.
Yeah.
And they announced it. I got up, I started clapping and crying, and my boss is sitting right beside me. Sit down, this is not what you're supposed to do. So I totally get you. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, I'm hoping, because I'm also, this is not game related really, but I'm hoping that, because I collect records, that they'll release the FF7 soundtrack.
Oh, they're absolutely going
on vinyl with the game, or along with the game, so that I can pick that up too. But other than that, to be honest with you, I want to. What is that? Maybe you guys can help me out here. That horror kind of choose your own adventure game where you're a bunch of kids locked in a house. It came out for PS4.
Oh, Until Dawn?
Until Dawn.
Yeah.
So they're coming out with the guys who created that game are coming out with another version of that game that's supposed to be co-op. So
really?
you and a bunch of buddies can sit there and play it, and it'll hook up to your phone.
Oh, really?
Oh, cool.
So you can all make decisions together as opposed to one person making
really
the decisions, and it's like a voting system, and it's I guess it's really just like an interactive movie.
That's kind of neat.
But I have a bunch of friends who are not really gamers, and they'll maybe come over to my place and watch me play video games. But they really liked Until Dawn, so I'm looking forward to that one, because then we can all kind of get in on the action.
You can get involved there.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
But other than that, I mean, because for the reasons mentioned earlier, I don't really have a lot of time to sit down and play real in-depth games.
Yeah.
So that's why I like the retro games, because you can kind of just jump in and jump out.
You play for an hour and you're done.
Right.
Exactly.
In modern games, it's kind of hard to sit down there for an hour and actually get anything done.
Right, because I love The Witcher. I love the Fallout games. But the problem is, if I'm not sitting down for a minimum 3 hours, then what's the point?
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know. Maybe I'm looking forward to play Cuphead.
Yeah. Cuphead's the game I think you actually
You can
enjoy.
totally just jump in and jump out.
Right, because it's level based, right?
Exactly.
So more of that.
Exactly. Yeah, I can see that.
I play a lot of Steam games, so I'm looking forward to some of the early access games not being early access anymore.
Oh,
yeah,
that'd be
fingers
nice.
Crossed. Because there's a lot of Metroidvania indie games that I love playing. If you guys haven't checked it out, check out a game called Flint Hook.
Oh, I've heard that's really good.
It's a lot of fun. But I think it's also still early access, so as they all
It's
are.
on Steam, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, cool. Shall we wrap it up there?
We should indeed.
Well, thanks again for joining us, Koji. It was really great talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And
do you want to plug any of the other podcasts on the Bunz Podcast Network?
Yeah. Just go to podcast.bunz.com. If you are a fan of this show, which I assume you are if you're listening, then you'll probably like our other show, You Gotta Love It, because we talk books, music, video games, TV shows, and it's half of it is hidden gems and half of it is bad stuff that we have to love, and then we give suggestions at the end. Also, I'm going to be on a non-Bunz podcast called Overrated, where I suggested an overrated movie and a replacement for that movie that comes out on Monday. So you can check that out. Overrated podcast.
Are you on Twitter?
Yes.
Where can we follow you on Twitter?
On all the social medias at BunzPod. That's BUNZPOD.
Awesome.
How about you, Brendan, before I get into that? What's your Twitter handle?
BFry26.
And we can find you on Instagram at BFry26 as well?
I believe so. I'm
Facebook?
Yep. I'm really lazy that way.
Pinterest?
Sure.
Tumblr?
Friendster?
I don't even know what that is.
Quora? I just learned about Quora. I don't understand Quora.
Yeah, it's BFry26 on Quora.
I don't know. What is that?
I don't know.
It's a system where you, help people with problems. So people will put questions there, and you answer the questions as an expert.
With a Q. Okay, yeah. I know exactly what that is.
Hey,
sure.
How do I podcast? You'd be like, well, as someone that podcasts, this is what you do.
For some reason, you said Quora, and my brain immediately went to Avatar.
Yeah, that's fair. That's where most people go.
Mine went to breakfast. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, if you like what you heard and you want to hear more or want to find out more, you can visit us at cgmagonline.com or follow us on Twitter at cgmagazine, on Facebook at cgmagazine, and on Instagram at cgmagonline.com. Thanks again, Bunz Podcast Network and Comic Bento, for sponsoring our podcast. And from everyone here at CG Magazine, have a great weekend.